Hello and welcome back to the Engine Room podcast. This is John here with Buga and Pablo. We're going to be talking about Messi's latest news. The headlines are that he is not even thinking about renewing at PSG. We're going to talk about Arsenal's late winner over Man United, the snooze fest between Liverpool and Chelsea. We'll talk Lampard being sacked. We'll jump over to La Liga, taking a look at Real and Barcelona. And then, of course, Juventus suffering some not just disappointment, but embarrassment with that 15-point deduction. We're going to be discussing all that and more. But let's start out with some twisted takes. I know I got one from both of you. Pablo, start with you, sir. What's your twisted take this week?
Yeah, so jumping straight into it. My twisted take is that Harry Kane is one of the most embarrassing footballers of the 21st century. I know everyone
No chill, bro. Like, the episode has just started, dude. People are just getting ready.
Yeah. I'm not even a Spurs fan. That was a gut punch. I felt that one. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Go on, Pablo. Get him.
Harry Kane is a wonderful footballer. I think he's one of the best strikers I've seen. He will potentially be the top scorer of all time in the Premier League. But this player of this level should never be accepting a long-term contract like that at Tottenham. He should never be acting the way he is about trying to get a move. And he should never be entering, nearly 29 now, and still be at Tottenham Hotspur with no trophy. And where they are in the place right now, he should never even be considering another renewal. I think the way Kane has gone about his career, I've got to say, is really embarrassing. And the more I look back on it, the more I hear about this bloke, the more I think that he's a real embarrassment. I don't think he's got the drive within him. We saw even that summer where he went on the golf pitch with Gary Neville and tried to trying to get himself to Man City. But even that, oh God, everything about this guy, the way he tries to go about it. And yeah, brilliant footballer. I think he's been immense for Tottenham and it looks like he'll continue to be. But this is a player who should never be rotting away at a club that wins no titles. When you look back at your career, you want trophies. And Kane, even if he gets like a Carabao Cup or Europa League with Tottenham, I don't care. He should have had league titles, Champions Leagues in his name by now. He should have a trophy cabinet and he's got nothing.
I honestly think
Pablo going and swinging, dude. Go ahead, Buga.
I think that Tottenham, I agree with what Paul is saying in a sense. Like, Kane is going to be one of those footballers that we are going to remember, like us three, right? Because we've seen him play, we know how good he can be. But when you think about, will my son remember Kane? Will the next generation remember someone like Kane? They probably won't. Will the generation past us, the older people than us, will they give enough credit to someone like Harry Kane? Because for them, for everyone, honestly, when you think about a world-class footballer, you need trophies, you need moments in the biggest of stages, and Kane has never gotten that. And I feel that the time for Tottenham to have actually won something was with Pochettino in that moment, where they were fighting it off against Leicester City, where they reached the final of the Champions League as well. Those 4 years. Yeah. That was a moment to win something. They bottled their own project by bringing Mourinho, I think, and then not actually Mourinho. I think it was sacking Mourinho before he even had the chance to play that trophy. I feel that was the worst decision they could have ever made. Then bringing Antonio Conte, another destruction manager, someone who's going to change completely everything radically. They got it all wrong. And now they're here, and Kane, for example, or someone like Heung-min Son are examples of that. Well, someone like Eriksen, that was part of that team, he has perhaps, I feel, more recognition than both of them.
Wow. Okay. I think as it stands, I have a hard time arguing against Pablo's point there. At the same time, I think Kane has one big move left, and it is to leave Tottenham. And I've been hearing some reports about maybe a move to Man United this summer. If something like that occurs and he is at a club that does acquire some trophies, I think all that, with his reputation gets set aside. But as things stand, if he continues at Tottenham and we see more of the same, then Pablo's right on this one.
I mean,
you go, Pablo. I have one.
Yeah. I mean, John, I completely agree with that. And I think this is the thing with Kane. Do you know when he tried to move, was it summer of 2021? Yeah, it was it?
Sounds right.
So when he tried to move to Man City, that was the first time I thought, oh my God, Harry Kane's a footballer. He's woken up. But even then, he was stuck in that contract until 2024.
He was.
And that's the only thing I could say. Look, fair play. The bloke tried. He had a 3-year contract. Tottenham just didn't let him go. What can he do? Now he's got his chance. This summer he's got 1 year left. 2024 he's up. So Tottenham have got a choice to make. They either let him go this summer for 80 million or next summer for 0. Daniel Levy will let him go this summer for 80. This is Kane's chance. He'll see Tottenham. Tottenham will finish 5th or 6th this season. Wherever they finish 4th, it doesn't matter to me. Champions League, Europa League, they're not going to win either of the one. So it doesn't matter. Kane has the chance now to say, I've got 1 year left, I can get my move. Man U, Bayern, I don't care where, somewhere to get trophies. And you know what we've heard from David Ornstein? That he's going to renew again. Got no sympathy for the bloke. He can do what he wants now. I've had enough.
I thought that the one thing that could rescue someone like Harry Kane's legacy, similar to, I'm going to compare, I think Kane is very similar to Antoine Griezmann in the terms of their career. Like, they're a player who perhaps haven't won anything or that much in terms of their club career, but they're always going to be remembered because of what they can do with the nation. And I thought that the one redeeming thing for Harry Kane is imagine if he won a Euros, imagine if he won the World Cup with England. That was the only thing that could have potentially separated him from the rest, and I feel that could have been good enough. But he has 2 more chances to do that at an international stage, and that's it. He's the captain of England, so he would have been the one raising the trophy. Imagine if they won the World Cup. He will be the one raising the trophy. That is, of course, a moment that people are going to remember, but he ain't even going to get that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of who to compare him to. A great player who doesn't, bring home silverware. I couldn't think of anybody. Griezmann's a fair comparison, but they had that run in 2012, 2013 with Atletico where they were, I think they got at least one La Liga title, right? I think it was just
but
the
Griezmann
one.
doesn't. But Griezmann doesn't.
Yeah.
Was Griezmann at Sociedad then?
Yeah, and then he left Barcelona when they won the title.
Yeah.
He went to Barcelona when he won the title. And he has, I think he has one Europa League and
there we go. More than
the Copa
Kane.
del Rey. And one Copa del Rey. That's still more than Kane, right? But it's still not the biggest of trophies. It's just a Copa del Rey and a Europa League. Let me just check right now.
And he's got a UEFA Super Cup as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's true.
Still, but okay, so that's less than I thought. I thought that he was part of that run a decade ago now. Okay, so that's a fair comparison then.
He has the World Cup though as well, John.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He has the World Cup,
Yeah.
and that's a thing people are always going to remember and they're looking for that.
And he was a big part of
France.
it. He scored in the final.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know it's hard to judge a player off of one match, one moment, but there was something I think something that stood out to me about Harry Kane missing the penalty in the World Cup, where it felt more significant than just a star player, having their mistakes or, missing a chance here and there. Messi has done that, right? Messi got a lot of criticism for a lot of his career for missing penalties in big moments, right? But now he's got everything, World Cup and all that. So I don't want to be too hard on it, but I think just the way that I read Harry Kane's body language after that, it's almost like he expected to miss it.
Yeah, he's got. That's the thing. I think he's got a bit of losing DNA, Kane now. I mean, he'd be the sort of player that I'd always player-wise. I'd always think oh yeah, that'd be great at Chelsea. And I actually think, if Kane came to Chelsea, could you actually then see Chelsea just having a hiatus of winning trophies? I kind of could. I feel like he's almost a bit allergic to them now. He's got that in his mindset. And you're right. That penalty. Kane scores penalties every week. That was the most confident I've been for a ball hitting the back of the net. And he put it out of the stadium. He's an odd guy. So. And you guys made a good point, by the way, actually. How many big moments will we look back on Kane where we think, what a moment, Champions League semi-final, where Kane got those 2 goals at the Bernabeu, he's got none of that. Timo Werner's got more of that sort of thing. So,
That's true.
Burn. Wow. Okay. All right, take a deep breath. Let's reset, because we got one more twisted take before we even get into the main topics today. Booga.
My thesis is not that twisted, but it's because I want to talk about...
He says this every time, though, folks, so get ready.
It's not that twisted. It's not that twisted. I feel some people expect Barcelona to get a replacement for Memphis Depay. But I believe Xavi would be so wrong if he did. I would honestly be mad to him. Why? Because one to begin with, there's plenty of players right now that don't have the chance to play, like Ferran Torres, like Kessie. And I feel that we need that. Memphis wasn't even seeing a minute, like with this team, and he wants a replacement for a player who is already a replacement to others. That's something that I don't get, and I want consistency for our players because I don't know about you guys, but every time I read a transfer story saying Kessie out, saying Ferran Torres out, when did our club become just a team that have no plan? Like, I'm done with it. Barcelona were always the team that you could bring a player and he was going to play for at least 4 years. He was going to improve and they were going to be better with the team. Football has changed so much in the fact that you can, for instance, Ferran Torres, sign him 1 year ago and the next one you can sell him on for a similar amount of profit. And I feel that that's disgusting. I find that the state of football for me is disgusting at this moment. And for instance, no player in this squad is getting a good amount of minutes of consistent, like a consistent run of minutes. We saw that with Dembele. He's turning around. I want to see that to be given to other players, and particularly these players that are kind of lacking a bit. And I feel that always the chance for, let's say, I always go back to, let's say, Donny van de Beek at Manchester United. When has he ever gotten that run of minutes? Around football, footballers are kind of just getting picked aside and put on the corner, and they're not playing any minutes. It's just simply not fancy by a manager and whatnot. But you need a run of consistent minutes to be able to demonstrate what you can do. I think this is one of the only jobs in the world where you get paid and you have no idea whether you're actually gonna be able to do your work. Like you have no idea. So that's the one thing that I find disgusting. And for me, I feel Barcelona shouldn't get anywhere near close becoming that club that just can simply circulate players one in, come out. I think Memphis Depay, he never got a chance as well at Barcelona. When he played like 5 matches consecutively, none. So that's the sort of things that pain me to see. And once again, another maybe under-twisted take is that he won't last in Atletico Madrid for the next year. He will be sold in the summer.
Okay. All right. I agree with you somewhat because I think Barcelona have a lot more depth than what we had a year, 18 months ago. We're also a lot healthier. You got to keep that in mind. At this time last year, I think we were still bringing up players like Jutla and letting Dest play right wing and stuff like that. So you got to keep in mind that Xavi's a little bit scarred by that. So he doesn't want to find himself in that same situation. I think as opposed to a Memphis replacement, who I think is primarily a left wing, I think Barca should look to get a different number 9, particularly after Ansu's performance against Getafe. And I know we had that further down the list, but maybe we can just jump over and talk about that a little bit. If you look at what Barcelona need in the transfer market, it's not a Memphis Depay or a replacement for him necessarily. I think it is a second number 9 to fill in for Lewandowski, give him a break as we get into the back half of the season with Copa del Rey, with Europa League, with La Liga. That's a lot of action, So I hear you on not being so quick to show players the door. Oh, you've been here for 6 months and you're not Lionel Messi? Gone. That's a silly mentality, of course. But I do think if we can sneak in a number 9, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I think Barcelona are guilty of. I think Barcelona under the board of Joan Laporta are very guilty of becoming obsessed in the transfer market. I don't know who it comes down to. It could be down to Alemany, but do you realise how Barcelona nowadays always are active? There was no need to make any changes to this squad in January. No need. And what do we hit every day? Brozovic, Kessie, Joaquin Correa. Does Luke de Jong come back? Does Memphis go? Are we going to just sell Kessie? Do we sell Bellerin? Do we get a new right back? Do we let this man go? We're just mad. We don't like sitting still anymore. And I think the best clubs sit still and just let the squad go. That's why I agree with you, Bulga. I think if Memphis goes, I do think there could be a hole. For example, if Ferran Torres and Ansel get injured in the next weeks, we're thinking, what on earth have we done? So I think it's a valid point, John, because we got Crow into a critical period now. If we go through in the Copa del Rey on Wednesday, more games. So we got to have the squad, fit and ready, and obviously have options. But I don't like making signings for the sake of it. I think Barca have been very guilty about doing it in the last few years. If they could get someone like Luke de Jong in on a 6-month loan, I don't actually think would be a bad option. But I don't think it will happen. But with this board, I think Barca will be busy in the latter stages of the window. I do. Because they like doing that, sorting out the FFP a bit, getting a bit of financial margin if they can, letting someone go with a bigger wage, getting someone in with a lesser one, building relationships with clubs, making new transactions. I think they like that, and I think they'll do it again.
I think that's a good point. I feel like the economic state of this club has just led Barcelona to be more aware, like you say, of making those signings just for the sake of not perhaps the sporting reasons. And I feel that ultimately, if there's one downfall that will happen, it will be that. Like, I want our team to be capable of knowing exactly which player is a substitute to the next one. I don't know if I always bring Peru back to it, but like, for instance, I saw it when we went to the World Cup, and that, like, our manager just made 11 players and had other 11 players in the bench, and each player had a substitute, and you could just simply shift, and they know the system by heart. And that's what made the best teams. Guardiola, Manchester City, he knows that. Liverpool, they knew that. Now, not anymore. But that's the thing. What I mean, it's like every player needs to know exactly which is their space, their room in the system, in the team. And Barcelona right now don't have that. Ferran Torres is the substitute to who? Can somebody explain to me? Is he the substitute to Dembele? Is he the substitute to Ansu Fati? Is he the substitute to Lewandowski? What is he? Like, that's the problem that I see right now with this team.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Instead of having a bunch of players who are sort of generalists in a lot of different positions, you want those specialists that know their role, they execute it time in, time out. That's a fair point. I think there's something to be said for being able to put somebody on that changes things up, that gives you something different. But ideally, you're not in a situation that often where you have to do that, where you have to break away from your preferred style and your preferred tactics, right? All right. Do we want to keep talking La Liga since we're on it, or do we want to jump into our first headline of the day?
Jump into the headline. Like, honestly, I think this weekend in La Liga, there's nothing to mention.
It was kind of, I mean, Barcelona's match was kind of slow. Pedri saved us, but okay. So then the big headline, right, just really breaking today, is that Messi has, quote, no interest, no contact with PSG over a renewal. What is going on with this? Pablo, talk to us.
Well, we've spoken about the Messi situation on previous podcasts, and the sense I got is that, Messi has the option of Barca, he's got the option of MLS, that certainly is an option, the Inter Miami one, but that Messi still wants to stay at the top level in Europe and can't really be bothered to leave PSG. They'll offer him the wealth of Qatar. They'll do all these things, and they make it very difficult for players to leave their football club, and ultimately Messi will renew there. But this news today changes all of that. I don't think it's conclusive. I don't think it says Messi won't renew with PSG because, we heard a few weeks ago, like I said, Messi will renew with PSG. That was almost set. 99% was that Messi stays at PSG. So I think this can change again. But I do find it interesting to hear that he doesn't want to stay. And I think there could be a few factors for it. I don't think he's that settled in Paris. Antonella, the kids, they come back to Barcelona for Christmas. I don't think they're the biggest fans of living in Paris. And I know the kids, especially, they love Barcelona. I think she does as well, actually. So that's huge for Messi, the family. Almost number one before football for him. I don't think he likes it at PSG that much. I spoke a bit about Mbappe before. I don't think he likes the bloke. I think he thinks he's self-centered. I think he thinks he's the next Ronaldo almost. I think he thinks he's got attitude. And I think Messi believes, I'm number one here. You just stop being such a nightmare. Do your job, help the team, and stop trying to be number one. And I think Messi knows that PSG value Mbappe over him. Messi isn't a narcissist, but Messi is someone who deep down thinks he's the best. And I think he wants people to think he's the best. At Barcelona, everyone thought he was the best. They gave him everything he wanted. He comes up to PSG and they didn't even present him with the World Cup or do a big thing. I don't think he liked that either. So he knows they love Mbappe. Don't think he's that settled in Paris. Maybe he feels I've won the World Cup. Why stay another season at PSG? Which I get in a way. I do. And we spoke about that after the World Cup. Where does Messi go next? Because is there a point of another season of Champions League quarterfinal exits at PSG after you've just reached football? I don't particularly think so, actually. So I find it fair enough, but I do find it interesting the fact that not long ago he was about to sign and now it's all on its head.
Hugo, what are your thoughts?
I think, I said it here. I don't know if you remember, but I thought that if Messi wins the World Cup, he doesn't renew with PSG.
Yeah.
If he wins the Champions League this season with PSG, he will be like, I finish football and I go home. I feel he honestly feels deep inside that he's gonna go home. Like the only thing is that if he doesn't win the Champions League, I could see him thinking about, I don't know if returning to Barcelona, because I'm not too sure whether Barcelona actually want Messi back. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know if Barcelona want Messi back. I kind of do feel that the page has been turned, the chapter has been closed. Let's just move somewhere else, or at least the project needs to be more consolidated for Messi to come back. Because I feel that if he comes back at this precise moment, like, I feel he's going to be more of the center of attention, and we don't need that. I feel Barcelona want Messi back to return, but he not being the focal point of what this team can be. Like, I'm not too sure Xavi would be thinking, oh, like, if Messi comes back, and this is going to sound very weird, another twisted take, will he decide to keep Dembele over Messi in the right wing? I could see that being the case for Xavi. I think he will be like, I'm going to keep Dembele there. You know what? Or at this current moment, maybe the team is not that consolidated, so he gives Messi the shout, and that changes completely everything. It disrupts everything he has worked for 2 years. So that's a problem.
I think
that's a problem because I'm not too sure whether this... Probably, like he does with Busquets, but how much do we know deep inside that affects the progression and the development of this project?
It does.
We know that it affects it quite a lot.
Let me paint you all a picture. Right? It's summer of 2023. Dembele has 1 year left on his contract with Barcelona. Barcelona know, because of the nonsense that Dembele had pulled last January, that we don't want to go into that season with Dembele on a 1 year contract and can leave for free, right? We've been through that. So it's either going to be Dembele extends with a reasonable salary, or we sell Dembele. Rafinha right now is Barcelona's one bargaining chip, but he's, a little bit inconsistent depending on who you ask. You may not be content with Rafinha being your consistent starter. So in that case, it would make sense for Barcelona to turn to a free Lionel Messi and say, hey, Messi, would you like to come back? And he goes, yeah, I do. And then Dembele goes, wait, no. And then we go, sorry, Dembele. Sorry. you missed the boat. No more development. No more one-on-one coaching from Xavi. You lose out on all of that. Messi comes back. Rafinha's the number 2. Gives him another year to develop.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Dembele would be an absolute clown not to renew at Barcelona. He has to stay.
Say more.
Everything screws back. And also, I think Barcelona would be clowns to sell Rafinha. Both of those options. I don't think they should be selling Rafinha at all. The Messi return to Barcelona, do you guys think it will happen? I think there's one side where should it happen from us Barca fans and Barca point of view. I don't know if it should. I'm worried with what Bulgar was saying. Yeah, I think it's hard to say that, isn't it? But I just think it should actually, footballing wise, probably shouldn't happen. Actually could halt this team. And from a Messi perspective, one, I could see Tebas getting in the way with financial fair play in La Liga and just blocking this completely. And this could die in a week, by the way, this story. And I already thought it had died before Gerard Romero pulled a bomb today. And also Messi, maybe this non-renewal with PSG is more Messi thinking what we've said on the pod before in terms of the fact I've kind of completed football. Why would I just play another season in Europe where chances are I'm not going to win the Champions League because it's, an unbelievable thing to try and win? Why would I just, have that amazing moment to then do 2 more seasons of quarterfinal exits, like I say? Probably, wouldn't happen. And also, like we've said before, we know that Messi, I think he still feels a bit betrayed by some of the people on Barca's board. I think we even heard today that a few members of Barca's board don't want him back. I think it would be a Laporta and Xavi-driven operation, but there's some people, I think Reveter, who's left now, completely said, go to Messi a bit.
And still, if he wants to win the Champions League, in PSG, I feel he has better of a chance than winning the Barcelona.
Yeah.
I still feel that's real. And imagine how much of a story or everything would be okay, he won PSG if he's their very first Champions League. That still makes sense, and still he will have, I'm not sure whether he will, and plus he's still with Neymar and whatnot. So I feel this is a decision that Messi is going to be making at the end. We're going to be having in the summer a whole burofax story, something like that. That's going to be the thing in the summer, what he's going to do. I generally think that if he wins the Champions League, I've said it here before, he completes football and he goes back home to MLS, maybe to have a rest and wait on Suarez, or he goes back to Newell's.
First of all, I don't appreciate the disrespect you are showing my MLS. All right, it is not a retirement league, but Messi would just walk in and house everybody. So I don't think Messi has anything to gain by going back to Barcelona, other than allowing Barcelona to save face over the way that they damage that relationship. But Messi's legacy isn't affected whatsoever by how he exited the club. So don't know why he would go back. Selfishly, it'd be cool if he came to the MLS and then I get to see him come play in Cincinnati. That would be pretty awesome. But I'm with Buga. I think it's a better narrative, and I think for him personally might be in his benefit to just hang it up. You know, what do you have left to prove? Go play in the Kings League with PK.
Yeah, that, like, you know what, Ronaldo, like, look, I don't know if we were going to talk about this, but Ronaldo in the Al Nassr, like, 11 thing with Al Khalil and PSG, that game is like, I was seeing that game, I was like, this is sad. This is sad. Like, this is not what Ronaldo should have done with his career. And with Messi, that ain't never going to happen. Like, if he just completes football and he says, I win the Champions League, or he loses, whatever, if he wants to renew with PSG, fair play. He can continue and try to win the Champions League because he's still one of the best teams in Europe. He can play. He gets paid a lot. Okay, fine. But if he, let's say, after PSG decides another move, I think it's one too much. I feel he just needs to hang up the boots if he wants to. And when he goes to the MLS to play, it won't be seen as what Ronaldo's done with Al Nassr, you know? It's just, I feel it will be like, done. It's done. Football is done for me, and that's it.
Yeah, sorry. Are you saying his next move should be an MLS? It shouldn't be like a European club?
No, yeah, I'm saying that.
I'm
saying that it should be an MLS. And even I want him in MLS more than returning to South America.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I think the Inter Miami option isn't bad.
Yeah, I would go there. I think that's my opinion. Him, Suarez, maybe Neymar.
The Engine Room Live from Lionel Messi's MLS debut in Miami.
Yes, sir.
Buenos dias.
I hate Miami too.
Really? I thought this was very nice.
I've never been. So
it's so sticky. It's like so humid. And it's hot and sticky.
It's nice climate, isn't it? That's why all the footballers like go in there now. Nice place,
but it's
John.
It's not nice.
But for their luxury lifestyle, it's lovely, no?
Yeah.
It's a luxurious kind of city. Yeah. The nightlife and whatnot. It's, it's no Cincinnati, Ohio, though, for those familiar.
In Miami, you need a car. If you don't have a car, you cannot go anywhere because there are no sidewalks.
Well, I'm expecting them to have a car.
That's the thing. Like, if you can rock up a Bugatti Veyron, like, of course you can go to Miami.
You'd hope they would.
I want to be driving my Toyota Corolla,
Oh, come on! Pull up to the club in the Corolla. You'll get all of them. Everybody will pile in.
That's the big debate. Then is it? Can Messi in his short contract the lack of money he's earned? Can he chalk out enough cash to get himself a car in Miami? Can he do it? That's the story of the summer. Come on, Leo. One more push.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm with Pablo on that. I think we're gonna have to wait a while to find out what happens with Lionel Messi, but. Until then, there's other things to discuss, of course, including English Premier League. Arsenal getting a late winner, 3-2 over United. Is that done? Is that it? Does Arsenal get the title from here, or we have time for maybe a different narrative going on? Buga, why don't we start with you this time?
I hope so. I hope they win the league. Like, this is a team that just have done football correctly. And I like that. This is how you win a title. This is how you build a club up. This is how you play football in my eyes. This is what I fell in love with Barcelona in the first place, because I feel that the values, the commitment, everything that Guardiola instilled to reach the top, I'm seeing it replicated again here in Arsenal. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When we were watching the Barca game, because it was the first half of Arsenal free, but then the second half of Arsenal was colliding with the first half of Getafe.
Yeah.
And I saw the second half of Arsenal United, and I didn't see the first half of Barcelona Getafe. Like, even though I support Barcelona.
Oh my
Why?
gosh. Cool,
Why?
get him.
Why? Because
Blasphemy.
I just simply preferred what Arsenal was doing and is doing at the moment. Like, it's just a well-run football club. Every player knows exactly what to play for. They have what I mentioned of, like, you take out Ben White, Tomiyasu comes in, and he knows exactly what he needs to do. It's perfect. In my eyes, it's perfect.
Pablo, what do you think?
I think they will win the Premier League. I think games-wise, it's not over, actually. We've only played 19 now, or 20 max for some teams, so I don't think games-wise it should be over. And the truth is, if Arsenal just slip up in 2 games in a row, or if City beat them in both fixtures, game on, title on, and City should take it from there. But something about it feels like City... I think City almost feel it's over, and Arsenal just keep winning. And Arsenal keep getting these big moments that, to me, strike as a title-winning season. The win over Tottenham last weekend, Man City keep dropping points, the last-minute winner against Man U. Arsenal are having a title-winning season, which is really bizarre, actually, with that team. I don't think the squad is that amazing. The depth is not a title-winning team, in my opinion, so you've got to give credit to them. I thought they played very well on Sunday, by the way, against Man U. They are playing good football. So credit to them, and I think they probably will go on to win the league because I just think City are a bit out of it. But if they weren't out of it, I think they actually could make a scrap out of this. I really do. I think a good City run makes this
on
chaos.
The other hand, in the other side of the coin, like, if City beat Arsenal twice because they still have to face each other, the title race is back on. Like,
Oh, yeah.
City can win the league. Yes, they can win the league. United even, and I'm going to give credit here to Mr. John Mustache because he did say it a few weeks ago. Like, I could see it happening, but the thing is that it depends on those 2 games. Mathematically, of course, Arsenal can lose. Of course, they can lose. But right now, if we have to talk about favorites, Arsenal are favorites to win.
Yeah, I think it's a gargantuan if, by the way, for City to get 6 points out of those 2 games. I think, if anything, Arsenal get 4. Like, can you actually see City beating Arsenal both times?
Yeah, I can see them.
Can you?
Arsenal twice. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see,
Big Daddy Pep coming in saying, "Come on."
Yeah, I can see.
Come
I can
on,
see
little
them.
Padawan.
Yeah, I can see
little
that.
spanking 6
I
points.
can very
to
much
Man
see
City.
it.
Well, I would adore that, but
It is tough to say Arsenal aren't going to pull it off this time around. That really is the key. If Man City can take 6 points, great.
Yeah.
But I think Man United if they would have just gotten a draw in that match, and I would have stuck to my guns and I would have triple down and said Man United. But at this point, barring a catastrophe, I think it's Arsenal's title to lose.
yeah, I think Man U's title race was, the light was shone on it. The draw to Palace and the loss to Arsenal, that's it. I don't think they're going to win the league. I don't think they've got it in them this season.
Yeah. All right. Well, further down the table in a battle for mediocrity, we had Liverpool and Chelsea. Pablo, since your heart's involved in this one, talk to us about your reaction.
It was nice for Chelsea not to lose a game. These days, I'm never upset with a Chelsea draw anymore. It's pleasant not to concede.
Yeah.
But that is the worst Liverpool team we have played against in probably over a decade, actually. God, they look bad. That's the only reason I'm annoyed, because I think Chelsea should have won the game. Early goal disallowed narrowly, had chances in the second half. Liverpool were just so wide open that structurally they were awful. They barely created anything. They looked like they had nothing in attack. Defensively looked weak. When Trent came on at right back, it was like free reign for Mudryk. Oh, goodness me. They look an absolute mess, Liverpool. Chelsea with some new signings, with a few of the fitness coming back. Played better football. Badiashile next to Thiago Silva at the back. 2 clean sheets in 2 games. Looks like an astute signing. Better from Potter's Chelsea. But again, battle of mediocrity, really. Not enough from either team. The point I'll make is a proper team batters Liverpool on Saturday. Absolutely batters them, because I think they were awful. So I think that shows you where Chelsea are at right now. The fact that it was 0-0 and it was kind of like, unlucky lads, because we just, we're not good enough right now. But Chelsea are going to sign so many more players. And just the stronger the squad gets, and if the injury record eases up, I think Chelsea will be strong again soon.
Ugo, what do you think?
I'm excited. I'm surprised about Mudryk. I'm surprised. I know it's one game, but he gave me that thing that only some few players in football give me, where I see them and I go like, okay, this is nice. Like he's skinned that player. You know what I mean? Like that excitement that I feel the right way to say is just I'm simply like laying down in my bed and I see that and I stand up. You know, every time I stand up, and that's good enough for me. That for me is the eye test. And it was exciting. It was exciting because he was potentially the player of Chelsea in the entire 90 minutes that was the most electric or had the most conviction. I really like Ziyech as well. I thought he had a good game. And Havertz, I always do think, what about Havertz? Havertz is always this player that pops up for the goals in the biggest of moments. And I thought that first goal was going to go in. It didn't. But in the case of Liverpool, I think it's time that Klopp needs to change something. Like he decided to go with Bajcetic, is that the name of the CDM? Yeah. The young kid over someone like Fabinho, over Trent Alexander-Arnold over Klopp. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to shift up the dynamics of the team, trying to make every player think that they're not, their spot is not guaranteed, but you cannot drop someone like Fabinho for a game like this. Even though Bajcetic was good, he delivered some good passes. Naby Keita, in how many years he has not shown anything at Liverpool, he's still there. That's the sort of thing that I don't understand from Klopp and Liverpool. Like they were doing so good, and what happened? They just stalemate. They're stuck in like the past, and they need to revolutionize the team. One midfielder, guys. One midfielder is all they need. Like Jude Bellingham solves Liverpool's problems. Just get a midfielder in. Just invest. That's the one thing that I just want to say.
I mean, Jude Bellingham will help. I'm not going to argue against that. But I think this totally validates the argument that Sadio Mane was carrying Liverpool. That's the change. That Sadio Mane is gone. Other than that, there's not a significant difference between successful Liverpool and the garbage Liverpool that we're seeing now. So I'm outside of this I'm not comparing Mane to Messi, but other than in this way, Messi was covering up a lot of holes at Barcelona that you didn't see until his departure. Oh, yeah. I think Mane was doing the same thing for Liverpool, just covering up a lot of gaps with just an out-and-out elite attack.
I also think that the problem is that they used to have that Mane, that Roberto Firmino, that forward that could drop a little bit deeper and be that extra money in midfield when they needed to be. And right now they're playing completely different. It's like they're playing with a striker in Darwin Núñez. They're playing with Gakpo, who's not that sort of player either, and Luis Diaz, who's been injured for quite a while. Yeah. They don't have that player. Roberto Firmino is still there. Is he injured? He's injured. He has to be injured, right? So it's like that player who can drop a little bit deeper, they don't have that. And I feel that was so crucial to Klopp's system. And now that they change it up a bit, I always was worrying a little bit about how will Darwin Núñez fit into this team, because you need to be able to change the dynamic as well. Like when City, for instance, signed Haaland, they changed it a bit. They don't play the same way. It's now De Bruyne perhaps not being as close to the forward line. He's just sticking to the right-hand side, and they have that right winger that cuts inside because they let De Bruyne that open space so he can cross into Haaland. They changed that. Liverpool haven't changed the way that they play, but yet their end product has changed. So it's like they're trying to use the same steps to get the same result, but they don't realize that one of the key pieces is different. Like what you're saying with Sadio Mane. And I feel that's a problem where Klopp perhaps got it a little bit wrong. He needs to think differently. I think that Darwin Núñez signing was more of an opportunity for the market, similar with Gakpo and with Diaz, and not really too much fit into what Klopp wanted. I'm not saying they're bad players. I think Gakpo fits. I think Luis Diaz fits. I think Darwin Núñez maybe fits, but it's different. But I just don't think Klopp has adapted to the pieces that he has now got.
I think that comes down to Michael Edwards leaving as sporting director. I think that's the huge point to make with Liverpool, is their signings aren't the same. They're not working the same. I like the point you made about John, you made about Mane, because it did remind me of Messi in a way. I think Liverpool played a lot of just, mediocre matches with Klopp. And then bang, Mane goal, 26th minute, 1-0, and they go on to win 2-0, and it all looks very comfortable. A bit like what Messi was doing for Valverde's Barca. We weren't playing that great, but Messi again, 2-0, what a comfortable day at the office that was, when actually it wasn't that easy at all. So I think that happened a lot of Liverpool. I do. They were never that sparkling like Pep's Man City were. They played solid football matches, and Mane got an awful lot of goals out of nowhere, and like Bournemouth at home and stuff. So yeah, I think that's a fair point on Mane.
So Pablo, I want to throw this back at you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I don't think either are likely, but who's more likely to find their way just into a European spot by the end of this season? The top 6.
Yeah.
Where Liverpool's at 9, Chelsea at 10, but Liverpool have played 19 matches compared to most who have played 20. Who's more likely to get into the top 6?
Something about Saturday makes me think Chelsea. I mean, I've been very pessimistic and harsh on what Chelsea have done under Potter recently, but we're making a lot of signings, and they're just naturally going to improve the group. Like Mudryk, for example. But it does depend. I'm sorry, if Chelsea keep this injury list up, nothing's going to happen. You cannot play a season with 12 injuries. Forget it. It's just stupid in my opinion. I hate it. I'm fed up of going into games with a whole back 4 out, 2 midfield, and 3 up front out. I think it's really unrealistic. So if Chelsea can get James back and stuff, if Chelsea start playing proper lineups out, it's key. Reece James, I mean, Potter hasn't lost a game with Reece James starting. It's an incredible stat when you consider how many games Potter's lost. So I don't think Chelsea that far away. I think we've got such a strong lineup.
I think it's proper what Prada was saying there. Like when I saw the game, I also felt that Chelsea were a little bit more closer to try and reach a European spot. I saw more conviction in their team, and that's perhaps a point that Liverpool don't have really right now. They have that also shared concentration about the Champions League, because I feel that if there's one saving grace, a club of the size of Liverpool, with the players they have, I wouldn't be surprised if they reach a semi-final. Like I wouldn't. I really wouldn't be surprised. Chelsea, I would be surprised if they did. And now seeing, for instance, them pairing against Dortmund, I do feel that they are the favorites to win so far. So I do see, like Paulie saying, the signings, how that could improve. And yeah, I could see Chelsea getting to closer European spots. But Liverpool also, I don't think it's that crazy, that different that they're at this part of the season. Because also the other teams in front of them, they will eventually maybe fall down. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, ahead of them we got Brentford, Fulham, Brighton, then Tottenham, Brighton, Tottenham, United, Newcastle, City, Arsenal. So out of the Brentford, Fulham, and Brighton, I think are 3 that they could maybe catch. But so I kind of hope they don't. I'm really liking what I'm seeing in the Premier League in terms of some of these. I don't really love the term, but some of these lesser clubs, or I'll say less lucrative clubs, up there swimming with the big boys. The teams that I mentioned, the Brentford, Fulham, Brighton, all I'd say outperforming expectations, and it makes for an exciting season.
It does. It really does. I'm now looking forward more to the Champions League than I did before. I feel that it's like football fans are basic in the sense that a signing or two can change the things. And now I'm excited just because of Liverpool have Gakpo. Oh, Chelsea has Mudryk. They want to sign Moises Caicedo and stuff like that. I'm a little bit more excited. You know what I mean? It does put a smile on my face.
Yeah. To be honest, with Barcelona getting knocked out, it hurts a little bit. So it was nice having the World Cup as a little distraction, as a little break. So now I'm feeling the same thing. I'm starting to get a little excited for Champions League, but I am enjoying the league play as well. I think there's like I said, those kind of mid-tier clubs that are disrupting some of the bigger club seasons. I'm having a good time with. Down towards the bottom, there's definitely some surprises, including a former Chelsea man who is now a former Everton manager, Frank Lampard, sacked with Everton down in 19th. Pablo, what do you think about that? Are you surprised? Did this come too late? What are your thoughts on Frank Lampard being shown the door?
I feel a little bit sorry for Lampard. I think Everton are an awful mess, really, at board level.
Embarrassing.
Right down to the pitch. I think Everton are in a complete mess. So I feel sorry for Lampard. But I think it really hurts his reputation. It was actually this time in 2021 that he got sacked from Chelsea. It's another sacking for him. You know, are they bottom now, Everton? No, it's not a great look. They've got good players and a good squad, but I just think institutionally they're a bit of a mess and they're in a poor place. So I feel sorry for Lampard as like a character. I don't know how good of a manager he is. I think he did very well at Chelsea in his first season. Quite weirdly, actually, I'm not really sure how it happened. Now that I just see him now, because that Chelsea squad wasn't really that good, and he got fourth with it and good running cups and did okay in Champions League. So it was a bit strange. Now that I look back on it and see how he's done. Because I'm not sure how great of a manager he is, but I think this hurts him because I wonder where he goes from here. Like, what do you do? You'd almost say maybe drop down a level, but he's gone from playing like UEFA Super Cup finals, European finals, top four Champions League games, FA Cup finals, to then go back to the Championship doesn't really make sense in his career. So I wonder what Lampard does next. He may even just go into punditry because you worry where, who will actually want to pick him up after this, don't you?
Yeah, it's not a good look. Buga, you have any thoughts where Frank Lampard lands?
He needs to drop down, in my opinion, because he was there with Chelsea, right? Yeah. He was sacked, then he drops down to Everton.
Yeah.
The next potential destination would be for me to go to the Championship, or maybe abroad to like a Celtic or a Rangers or somewhere in maybe. Look, who's the guy who went to Club Brugge? He was manager of Bournemouth.
Oh, Scott Parker, is it?
Is it Scott Parker that went to Club Brugge?
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, he's now gonna manage in the Champions League.
Yeah, true.
I think that's a sort of move. That's a sort of move that a Lampard should make, like a team like a Ghent or like or like Vincent Kompany went to like Anderlecht. That's another potential place where I could see, because the league is a little bit different, and he will have that ability, that possibility, since he having a bigger club presence in the terms of their league, where he could develop a bit. And I feel that is, I don't know if the word is develop, but maybe to know how to manage those instances where, okay, you are a winning team, you're losing. How do we revert the situation? I feel that's the part that Frank Lampard needs to improve on. I feel that the ideas of the game, I've seen very good football under Chelsea with Frank Lampard. But the problem is that once like I said in Spanish, las papas queman, once the potatoes are burning up, you need to be able to revert the situation. You need to be able to change it. And right now, for Frank Lampard, the potatoes always burn. And he needs to be able to save those potatoes and make some good smashed potatoes or something.
Needed a minute on that one. All right. I don't know. Would MLS be too much of a step down for Frank Lampard?
Yeah, I think he takes himself out of the limelight too much at MLS. He doesn't get spoken about. I think that's even the worry about going to Rangers or Celtic. He'd ideally want to stay in the Premier League, but there's not a Premier League club that would want to hire him after this.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Buga?
No, I was going to say, I don't know. Pablo said Rangers or that, but for instance, Steven Gerrard went to Rangers, right? And I honestly think he did very good there.
Yeah.
And going to a team like Aston Villa was the right step. Where is he now? What happened to him?
Nowhere, no.
But yeah, he's nowhere. But anyhow, I feel that's a sort of right steps a manager should take. I always say this. I like that Xavi went somewhere else, managed first, rather than someone like Lampard directly. First job, Derby County, and then bang, Chelsea. Having that jump too quickly. I always like where they have the ability to train a bit. And also, it's important that you're in a winning club, because when managing winners is very different than managing, let's say, a mid-table team. Even though you're managing Club Brugge or Anderlecht, they're winners in their league. Yeah. That's different than managing a Burnley. That's very different. So you need to be able to, even though you could say Burnley can beat Anderlecht on a one-off, they can. Who knows? Maybe they're in the same level. Maybe an example like Leicester City. The thing is that you need to also know how to manage those personalities in that moment when everything's going wrong.
Yeah.
Lampard doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah, you're right. I think Lampard lent on that at Chelsea. Obviously, he knows the club very well. Chelsea had a huge winning mentality ever since Lampard was there, obviously under Abramovich, and it was still there when Lampard went. So I think that carried us through a lot of big games under Lampard. It was probably less about tactics and more about let's stick together. And, we're Chelsea. We can win this massive match. And we did a few. Lampard should have really won a trophy with Chelsea. The Super Cup final, he was inches away from lost on penalties to Liverpool. And then the FA Cup final, the loss to Arsenal was a stupid defeat. Aubameyang got us on the day, and that was poor. But so he was very close to a title, and of course got top 4 in the Premier League. And you look at how he did at Everton, you think, how on earth did that happen? Like I was saying, but you're probably right, Bulgar. When you're in that environment, of course things are easier. When you're at Everton, though, when things are rotten from top to bottom, you need a proper manager who can come in and sort that mess out. And Lampard, I don't think tactically or experience-wise is at that level yet.
All good points, gentlemen. All good points. Any other thoughts on Premier League before we move over to some Serie A conversation?
I think so.
All right. Well, after already being behind by more than a dozen points to league-leading Napoli, Juventus are now docked 15 points and are down in 9th place after some financial fair play irregularities discovered. What does this do for Juventus in the short and long term?
Bulgar?
I think that they're going to suffer a bit. They're going to suffer a bit in terms of they might need to sell some few players, but ultimately I feel it will be better for them. Why do I say that? Because it's just going to stall their progression and their development, because right now I think they're stuck in a moment where they have players like a Vlahovic, like a Chiesa, like McKennie, Bremer, players who are new to the club, are new to the transition to the project, but the older players like an Alexandro, like a Cuadrado are still there, and they need to be able to revolutionize everything from the get-go. I feel that's what they need, a complete reboot, sort of like what Barcelona did in a moment, sort of what Arsenal did. And if they won Serie A this season, perhaps, let's say that they did, you are also still stuck in that situation because these players are with big wages and all of that. Do not get me wrong. They're going to be potentially losing out on one of the players that I just mentioned. Like a Chiesa could easily be sold to another team. They will suffer the loss of one of those players because they need to make the money up. And also it's going to be harder for them, those players like Alexandro, Cuadrado, to get rid of them because of the high wages that they have. But they need to happen. They need a time. I always say this. I think I live through this philosophy. Sometimes it's better to suffer in the short term rather than suffering in the longer term. And they need to suffer in that short term. Everyone needs to suffer short term when they want to succeed in the long term.
That's deep, Buga. I'm going to get that tatted right here on my arm.
Yeah.
Boy, Pablo, big deal, no deal. What is this going to do for Juventus?
You almost feel sorry for them. I don't think they were in a very good spot, sporting-wise anyway, Juve. I think they were really struggling as a football club. They got back a bit on the board this year, hadn't they? They looked like they were going to come second or third in Serie A, Champions League spot again, get Chiesa and Vlahovic playing together. But this is harsh. I mean, where do you guys think they'll end up now? Maybe 6th or so? It'll be hard to get top 4 now, I think, with a 15-point deduction. So that changes things in the market, of course. You make fair points there. I don't know how massive it'll be because I don't think Juve have got world beaters right now on their team, so they could be okay in that regard. I think it's just more, shade over the club, though. It's not a nice look. It's something that probably could have happened to Barcelona, actually, but we've, maybe somehow we've escaped because, for example, they took part in that Pjanic-Arthur deal. We know that was dodgy between the two clubs to balance their financial books, and I think that's the sort of thing I've read up that Juventus have been banned for. It's the way they've accounted for player transfers. So, all of their directors have been banned and stuff. Maybe that's a good thing for them, to be honest. Even someone at Tottenham now, Paratici, their sporting director, has been banned for 2.5 years. So, yeah, real mess. In terms of how much effect it will have on this season, probably means they get Europa League at most. But again, they weren't going to do anything in next season's Champions League. Could have an effect on future transfers. Maybe they see it as a chance to do a full revolution. They say we finish at 8th or something, settle these people, new board, start again. But it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt seeing them, fall that badly. And of course, they've had these sorts of issues in the past when they got booted out of the league, all those years ago.
Exactly. All those years ago when I was, around your guys' age, back in 2006, when they, when they got busted for fixing matches, and you had a handful of players leave, but you had a handful of players stick around and say, we're gonna get this club back. So I do think if they can recover from that scandal, this is, I think, not as significant, particularly just on the brand being affected. So European football next season, I think, is going to be sacrificed, but then the following year they'll be back. I mean, they're not huge players in the transfer market anyway, right? Outside of Serie A, you know what I mean? Like, Italian players typically stay in Italy, and Juventus pulls from the other Italian clubs. So they're gonna miss out on European football, so they'll be less attractive in the transfer market. But like I said, that's not a huge thing for them.
Yeah, at this moment they weren't attractive.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't really a hot destination anyway. So I don't know. We'll see who all leaves. One player I want to bring up is Weston McKennie. I saw some reports that maybe Arsenal are looking at bringing in Weston McKennie, and they could get him on the cheap given Juventus's situation here. You think that would be a good move for the player and club?
Yeah, I've heard a few Premier League clubs interested. Do you rate McKennie, John?
I really do.
Okay.
For a number of reasons. One, he's box to box. He'll give you that defensive tenacity, but he'll also give you that creativity and that playmaker type ability on the attacking side of the ball. He is one of the most underrated aerial threats. You get him in the box on a corner or a free kick, and he will give you some problems. Outside of that, he's a locker room personality. He's fun. He's positive. He brings a good spirit. So for those reasons, I rate him quite highly. And he's been at Juventus now for a number of seasons after being successful with Schalke. So he's done it at different clubs in different leagues. I think Premier League is the next step for him. And last point is that Tyler Adams, I think, is showing at Leeds. Despite Leeds struggling a bit, Tyler Adams has been a bright spot for that club. And Wesson, Tyler, and Yunus Musa over at Valencia, I think, are ones that any big club should be taking a look at.
Yeah,
I think more Liverpool needs Weston McKennie than Arsenal.
Ooh,
that could be a good one. Like, if you're Liverpool, that could be a good cheap option that you could bring in. For Arsenal, I think it makes sense. It makes sense. Like, he's a very good all-around box-to-box midfielder. I really like what Weston McKennie does. The thing is that I always, and like you were saying about Tyler Adams, I think that the good thing about American players, US men national team players, is I feel that one thing that America has one up on everybody else is, I feel, the preparation, like the preparation, the physical preparation that it takes to be in the game. Like, when I always think of America, I think athletes, you know, like,
totally.
Athlete, like you, like, that's the one thing, that's the one difference that I can pull out. And I feel that a team like Arsenal right now could benefit from someone like that. Just a pure good athlete, good competitive mentality, and someone that you know that whenever you need to bring him off the bench, he's going to be right there working hard for the team. But once again, I don't know how much they actually need him, like, just for depth. But I think Weston McKennie can be better than just depth. I think he deserves to start this spot somewhere. And I think at Juventus, he had that, at least sometimes.
Pablo, you think he should go to Arsenal, or maybe if he does go to Premier League, maybe find somewhere where he's going to be a regular starter? Because I don't think he doesn't walk into Arsenal starting 11, of course.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Maybe he should make a more like a Tyler Adams move. I think Arsenal is what you're telling me about him, though. I think Arsenal could be a good move, character-wise, maybe. What he adds to the team as well. I think that's a decent show, actually. And their midfield isn't so set. Of course, it's set with Xhaka and Partey, but I think you can get into it. Both of those players are like, nearing 30s, if not in them. So not a bad move for him. But maybe he should look further down the table and get that regular playing time. And then obviously people will start looking and say, hey, we want a bit of that. Like Calvin Phillips, for example, at Leeds.
Yeah, I think Tottenham, Liverpool, honestly, I believe Weston McKennie is good enough for those two teams. I feel that's where he could go.
Yeah.
Liverpool, why are they not snooping for someone like him?
I don't know. And it's a good look for the club in terms of marketing, too, because the fan base in America is building. We're seeing a lot of the young players, 25 and under, starting to get signed by these big clubs. And, it's a good marketing move on top of everything else.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
All right. Final thoughts, boys. anything to wrap us up?
I don't think so. I think this weekend has been complete. I really like how we've bounced from transfer news from Messi to football. And I'm just excited for what's coming because Champions League, we have more decisive moments. And I mean, I'm excited for the Euro. I'm really excited about that game between Barca and United.
It's going to be a fiery one all of a sudden, that is by no means, well, we'll see. Any matchup could be a dud, but on paper, that one's starting to look pretty enticing.
Yep. It does.
All right. Well, folks, make sure you are tuning in every week. We're coming in with another podcast from the Engine Room. Buga, Pablo, and myself talking the wide world of football. So I appreciate you listening, and we will see you next week, my friends.
Goodbye.
Ciao, ciao.